Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with yet another live video for you today. It's Thursday. Maybe for some of you, it's Friday. I don't know. Depends on where you live. Depends on a lot of things. And tonight we're going to be talking real quick about Bitcoin and crypto in general. So if you're one of those people that emails me to tell me that I shouldn't do streams about Bitcoin, well, obviously, this stream is not for you. But it might wake some of you up, actually. It really might kind of open your eyes to the amazing technology, the idea behind digital currency. And today's topic, of course, will be Bitcoin private keys. We're going to get into hacking private keys, decide how safe is your crypto, and listen closely, because this is the truth. I'm about to reveal to you tonight every single private key ever. Wait a second. I know what you're saying. Wait, Sharon. I thought that a private key is all that you need to spend the coins from any Bitcoin address. And that is correct. So get your addresses ready, because I have for you tonight every single private key there is. We're about to explore 115 quattuorvigintillion. Can you say that word? I can't say it. Quattuorvigintillion private keys. 115 quattuorvigintillion private keys. There you go. I got it out. I'll see you guys in about a minute. Yeah, this is Jeranism Crypto.
Can you characterize everything that the Fed has done this past week as essentially flooding the system with money?
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that?
There is no end to our ability to do that.
But Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill. Okay?
Is Bitcoin the currency of the future?
I don't save dollars because I don't trust the US dollar. And I just save gold and silver and recently Bitcoin. You know, they printed more money in 2020 than they did in the first 200 years of our country. And still people are saving dollars.
Yeah, people always ask about Bitcoin. Simply put, at the core of every single cryptocurrency is something called the blockchain. It's a public and unalterable ledger that records every address and all transactions and stores them forever, making it the greatest invention since the internet. And it's decentralized. All right, thank you guys for joining me. YouTube, DLive, Twitch, my website, I don't know, wherever you might be. I do appreciate it greatly. If you want to support the show, if you want to support the channel, you should do so. Be nice of you. You can go to patreon.com/Jeranism. You get loads of cool stuff. Everyone gets a brand new pony when you sign up. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody gets it. No ponies. I lied. No ponies. You get to support what you like so it doesn't go away. You get the monthly patron-only hangouts. The next one is Sunday the 7th or 6th, whatever. I don't think I have a 7th. It'll be the 7th, I believe. Yes. The 7th. And you get 250 plus raw episodes, no commercials, patron-only videos. You can easily contact me, and lately I've been offering one-on-one crypto help, which has gone quite well. I've got another 4 on Saturday. I've done about 16 or 17, I think 17 today. So it's been going well. So if you're interested in that, patreon.com/Jeranism, sign up for $5. It's pretty cool. Let me bring this up real quick, just because people always ask, Jaron, where can we find all your stuff? Of course, my website, jeranism.com. You can see all the most recent videos are there, so you can check them out. I get emails every day. What happened to your channel? Why is your channel down? If you don't know, my channel is in YouTube jail. Actually, it's out of YouTube jail tomorrow. Whee! But for now, if you're looking for these episodes or videos, that's where you want to go. And then if you are still looking for more, I think I've got this as well. Yes. Here you go. You can also head over to odyssey.com. It's ODYSEE /@Jeranism with the @ sign there. and all the old stuff is here. So anything that you're missing, things that I had to take down when my channel got reprimanded, you can go here, find all the old stuff, just scroll through. They're all there. They play quite easily. Odyssey is awesome for that exact reason. But for now, I mean, what I've been trying to tell everybody and what you should do as soon as possible, because it's the cool thing to do, is to make sure you hit like on this video, give it a thumbs up, and then subscribe. Click the notification bell, and this way you get notified when I go live. That's the way to do it. So let's get started on tonight's topic. We're going to kind of go through, and really what we're trying to figure out here, what we're asking is your crypto safe, and exactly what are private keys. I talked about this on Monday night. A lot of people got very confused. They thought I was doing something I wasn't. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But really, how safe is your crypto? Because I still get people commenting all the time, oh, they think it's hackable, the government's going to get a hold of it. They've got all these issues that they have with it. And what I want to show you is why hacking it is... oops, that was good. I just dropped my charger. Should be okay. I don't know what kind of battery I have on here. And I am going to be drawing tonight. I know some people don't like me drawing, but it makes it easier for me to show you some things. So we're going to be doing that here shortly. And we'll find out how actually, safe, how secure is Bitcoin, is private keys. And hello to everybody in the chat. I can't really see the chat when I'm drawing here, so I'm not going to be able to see that. After this little presentation, I'll probably drop the YouTube feed, and then I'll see everybody over at DLive for a little tiny after show. So it should be quite fun. All right, let me get this set up, and we'll be talking about the power of big numbers, which is really what Bitcoin utilizes. That is the power behind it. And so we're going to get going here in a second. Let me make sure I'm ready to go. Looks good to me. We're going to transfer this over here. What is this thing saying? Oh, that's nothing. All right. So we're going to be talking about, like I said, the power of big numbers, right? This is what we want to be looking to. We're going to be talking about private keys and exactly how they work, because a private key can be basically plugged into a simple equation, what is called an elliptic curve, SHA-256. Maybe you've heard of that. And it's also goes through something called RIPE-MD. Get that off the screen. Thank you. That's better. And the crazy thing is that you can't go backwards. Okay, so when we talk about private keys, I think they call it clock math, but it's basically built so you can't get the private key from the address. Okay, so basically what you have is you're going to have a private key, and I'm going to show you one here in a second. So you've got a private key, and we know that from the private key through something called elliptic curve math, okay, you get something called a public key. Okay, and from that, the public key can then be hashed into what they call your address. Now, the crazy thing about this is you can't go backwards. From an address, you cannot go this way. Impossible. It's made so that you can only go this direction. And you'll see why that's so important before. If you could go the other direction, remember, we could find any address, and we're going to look at some Bitcoin, the rich list, and show you all the people who have tons of money in their addresses. If we could just get the private key from the address, well, we already have the address, so we'd be able to go backwards, get the public key, get the private key. Good for Bitcoin that's not possible. So right now we're going to look at a private key, and this is where it's going to get interesting here. I don't know who's watching this show right now. I don't know where you are, but somebody is going to get rich right now. What? Sharon, what do you mean somebody's going to get rich? How do you mean? Well, what I mean is, as soon as I find the right page, there we go. Here we go. Okay, that is a private key right here. As you're looking at on the screen, that is a private key to an address. The address is below it. Okay, that is the Bitcoin address. And let me just tell you right now that there is, as we speak, money in this address. And all you need to get the money is what? The private key. So what does that mean? It means that money will be gone momentarily because somebody's about to steal it from me. So there's probably 15 bucks in there. I don't know, something like that. Let's go look at the blockchain real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Bring this over. Here is the blockchain for that address. You can see the address, 134KJ, something, 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 something. If we go back real quick to my drawing, you'll see that the address is 134KJ, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so on and so forth. So in a little bit, and I don't know how long it'll take, we'll see. We'll see who's who knows what they're doing already, pretty soon when I hit refresh on this address, we're going to notice that this balance here that says 0035 Bitcoin, which if we want to know how much that is right now, let's go check it out. We're going to grab this. We're going to bring up the Priv, and we're going to punch it in. Let's see how much I'm going to be giving away today. Sorry, I thought it was more. I'm going to be giving away $11.58 to the first person that hacks my wallet, which they're about to do, because it's quite easy. Because I just gave you the one thing you need, and this is kind of to prove to you that all you need to get money out of any address is the private key, which I have revealed to you. Somebody probably paused it. I'll go back to it, and then we'll come back and see how long until my money is adios. But there is your private key. If you have that, you've got the money. So that's really how easy it is to hack Bitcoin. Once you have that private key, boom, you got it. You know my address. You don't even need to know the address, actually. You just need that private key. Punch that private key into whatever wallet you have. Boom, you just made yourself $11, a huge $11 richer. Awesome, isn't it? So we'll see. I'll check back in a little bit and see if anybody stole my funds. So the private key, this number here, is basically in a hex 58 format. Okay, but it can be in many different formats. Okay, it comes in tons of forms. Just like any other number, you can break it down into something else. There's also something called decimal form. So you can find online, a site that will turn my private key into a decimal. It could also be listed in binary, right? I'm sure you've heard of binary, zeros and ones, right? So what a private key is basically, don't bring that up, thank you. What a private key is 160 bits, okay, of information. And if you don't know what that means, I'm talking about 160 bits as far as binary. So we know that binaries are 0 and 1s, right? So get this, and this is just a start, and this may not make sense to you yet. It will by the end, but let's think of a coin toss, okay? Everyone's done that in their life. You basically flip a coin. It's either heads or tails. Simple, right? Okay. So what if I told you this, and you might, again, you're probably not going to agree with me, but eventually maybe by the end you'll agree with me, or if you think about it or look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you were to flip a coin, and we decided to call heads 1 and tails 0, okay? And we just started flipping. Boom. First one, heads. Second one, tails, tails, heads, tails, 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 heads, 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 tails, heads, heads, tails, tails. Okay. And we did that 160 times. So we're just flipping a coin 160 times, and it's going to come out with some length here, 160 bits of binary code, zeros or ones. What if I told you that if you did that, anybody else in the history of the world could not come up with the same number you did? You'd be like, I don't know about that, Jared. It's only 160 times. We'll get into it. We're going to break this down. You're going to realize the impossibility and what big numbers can actually do. You might be thinking right now, what? There's no way. It's not possible. It is quite possible. Now, with private keys, this is how we are going to secure our money, okay? So you have to remember when Satoshi, or whoever you want to say it was, some people think it was a group of people, some people think it's CIA, NSA, whatever. They might think that because the SHA-256, okay, hash is developed by the NSA. You'll see why it's pretty impressive here shortly. So what's crazy is that with this code here that we just talked about, this binary 160-bit heads, tails, flip, ones and zeros only, no hacker, no supercomputer can break that code. I know what you're thinking. That's crazy. It's not possible. You're going to learn here shortly how possible it is. All right, let's go back here. I'm going to talk a little bit about safety, security, and we'll kind of build from there. All right, so here we go. Now, let's imagine, just to kind of walk you through it, and you tell me if I lose you. We'll see how we go here. Let's pretend that we have one box, okay? And in that box, we've placed our Bitcoin. Say we have one, whatever. Doesn't matter how much we have. Let's say we've got one. And there's no lock on this box, okay? It's just a box open, and we just put it out, I don't know, in a park, okay? Now, you tell me, how secure is my Bitcoin with one box? Okay, not very. Okay, we pretty much know that. That the first person who stumbles upon my box is going to immediately steal the Bitcoin. It's gone. All right, so that's fine. What about if we had 4 boxes, right? If we had 4 boxes and we put those in the middle of the park, is that secure? No, right? Not at all. And remember, this is in public. What about if we did 1,000 boxes? So we just keep adding boxes. Is 1,000 boxes secure? That is the question. Is it secure? Well, if you're answering, if you have any idea, of course, the answer is no, right? Remember, it's in public. It's not locked. It's just an open box. Really, all you would need is a private key, and it's not secure. We got 1,000 of those, not secure at all. So what we're really going to start looking at is what is the number that makes these boxes secure? What about 1 million boxes? Okay, would 1 million boxes out in public be secure? We put 1 million boxes out there with one of them has Bitcoin in it, right? So this one here has Bitcoin, but we've got 1 million of these boxes. And we ask the question, is that secure? Well, you know, maybe, but somebody could just start checking the boxes like a maniac, right? If they knew I had money in there, they're just going to check box. Eventually, you would think they're going to find my Bitcoin is hiding in one of those 1 million boxes. So the question needs to become, and this is kind of the way that Satoshi or whoever invented Bitcoin started to look at it, is there a certain amount of boxes that you could create that would make Bitcoin safe? Okay. We just said 1 million boxes is not secure, right? And I would agree with you. 1 million is not secure enough. Somebody could just keep checking until they found it. So let's think, how about 1 billion? Okay. How about 1 billion boxes? Would 1 billion boxes be secure? Billion's a lot. You know, 1 billion boxes is a lot of boxes if you think about it. Would it make it safe? I still am not sure. How about 300 billion boxes? So you're going to be thinking, well, that's a lot of boxes. It might be pretty safe for a certain amount of time, right? It might be safe for a day, right? So is it secure? Well, if something's secure for a day, I would not say that that's not secure. You know, it's just not secure enough to keep funds in. So of course, 300 billion isn't going to work. You know, we're going to have to even go further than that. So let's go deeper than that. And let's say all of a sudden that, I don't know, hackers wanted to get into one of my 300 billion boxes. And remember, there's only Bitcoin in one of those 300 billion boxes. What would they be able to do that? So let's say hackers could gather employees, and the employees started checking boxes, and they could open, 1,000 boxes a day, these employees that they hired. They're able to open 1,000 boxes a day. Then no, right? Even 300 billion boxes is not going to last very long. You know, our money is not going to be safe because these hackers are hiring all these employees to basically go through all these boxes. They're able to open 1,000 boxes a day, which means even the 300 billion, it's just not going to last very long. So let's go a little bit deeper and even say that each person on Earth, so everybody on Earth, had an app where they were able to control some robot, right? So they all have an app. They all can control a robot. And those robots opened 1 billion boxes a day, right? 1 billion boxes a day. Now is our 300 billion secure? Not even close, right? Not even close. If they can open 1 billion boxes a day, it would only take 300 people, 300 hackers, each of them, or 3 hackers, each doing 100 a day. It's not going to work. We've got a problem. So you still have to go even deeper than that because our 300 billion boxes is not safe if we've got 300 hackers who each hire or who each have this little app and they're able to pull some robots in that are each opening 1 billion boxes a day. It's not going to last long. It's going to have 300 hackers. It's gone. So let's think again. Is there a number? And what is that number? And this is the ultimate question. Is there a number that keeps Bitcoin safe? That is what we're going to explore here in a second. And by the end of this, you're going to say, oh my goodness, there is a number and why it's safe and how safe it is. So is there a number that keeps Bitcoin safe? That's really what we're looking for. Okay, so let me erase this here. Let's get, how big is my eraser? Good enough. Okay, so let's start over here. Let me get rid of this. All right, so now we're going to be looking at how do we get to that number? How do we figure out what that number is, right? So we know that let's say there's 7 billion people on Earth. Let's just agree with that for a second. Okay, so there's 7 billion people. And let's say that all of them, just by some magic, can open 1 billion boxes a day. Okay, which is quite a lot. So we got 7 billion people. Everybody on Earth can open 1 billion boxes a day. And let's say they do it for every day, 365 days. And let's say they do it for 100 years. Okay, so it's a good start to think about, right? If there's 7 billion people on Earth, they can each open 1 billion boxes a day. There's 365 days a year. There's 100 years in a human lifespan. So that's it. So we got everybody on Earth, everybody's opening 1 billion boxes a day for every day of their life, nonstop. Okay, great. If you do this, this comes out to 260 times 10 to the 21 boxes. That's how many boxes could be opened in that 100-year span, okay? Which is 260 sextillion. We're going to be talking big numbers today, boxes. Okay? That's if this were true. Okay? If somebody could open, or 7 billion people open 1 billion boxes a day for every day of their life. All right? So what if, how safe would that be, right? Now, if everyone on Earth opening these boxes nonstop for 100 years with robots opening 7 billion boxes each, so remember we got 7 billion people, they each have an app. The app controls these robots. They each open 100 billion boxes a day. Go away, please. Hold on, I got to fix why that thing showed up. Go away. I don't know, maybe I got too close to the top. There we go. All right. So how safe is Bitcoin? Do you think it's safe? You know, it's questionable. It seems pretty safe. We've got 7 billion people opening 1 billion boxes a day for their entire life for 100 years. Is 260 sextillion boxes, is this secure? That's the question. I still don't think so. I still think there's a chance, right? What if instead of 260 times 10 to the 21 boxes, we had 10 to the 29 boxes? Okay? That's 1 million times more than what we just talked about. And sometimes when you hear 1 million times, it gets a little bit confused. You get a little bit, I don't know what you mean by that. But we're going to think about this. And actually, I'm going to break it down to where you get it. But that's already 1 million times more than this scenario we just talked about. Okay? And that scenario is 7 billion people, 1 billion boxes a day, 365 days a year, 100 years. Still, we don't know. I don't know if that's right. What about 10 to the 35? Okay, 10 to the 35 boxes instead. That's now 1 trillion times as many as before. So that's 1 trillion times more than this. So remember, this one was questionable. 7 billion people, 1 billion boxes a day, 365, 100 years. Then we went to 1 million times more than that. And then we went to 1 trillion times more than that, right? And that's pretty ridiculous. Okay, so what if we had 10 to the 38? 10 to the 38 boxes is now 1 quadrillion times as many as the 7 billion people opening 1 billion boxes a day for their entire life. So now we're already at 10 to the 38, which is a ton. Okay? Bitcoin has, and we're talking about now how many boxes Bitcoin has. They have 10 to the 48 boxes. Okay, in boxes, we're going to reverse that in a little bit and call it an address. But for now, Bitcoin has 10 to the 48. Okay, it is a quintillion boxes. Of course, a quintillion is 1 with 48 zeros after. That's insane. I think I might have a image of one of such thing. Let's see here. The private key. Nope, this one. Nope, not that one. Yes, this one. Okay. So this is the amount of possible Bitcoin addresses, a quintillion. And we're going to figure out exactly how big that number is. It's insane. You know, we've got, thousands here, millions here. Sorry, my math is pretty bad. We got billions, trillions, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, non-illion, whatever else, blah, 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 blah. I don't know the rest of these. But we get to 1 decillion addresses. And we're going to explore exactly how crazy this number is and how it's hard for anybody to even fathom and why that's important. So these numbers might seem insane, but here's the crazy thing about this quintillion possible addresses is that it makes all computers on Earth, okay? All computers on Earth, even combined, seem slow AF. Slow as could be. And I'll show you why. This number is so gigantic that it even makes our supercomputers look pretty wimpy and pathetic. I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, what if all the computers in the world were all programmed to try and open all those boxes as fast as they could get into a box, right? And if I told you no, and you'd be like, well, I don't get it still. I don't understand why they can't get into those boxes. And they'd say, what if we made a database of all the possible private keys and all the addresses, and we store them all on a computer? Can we get into that box? And I'm telling you no. And you're going to be like, why? And we're going to find out here even better. So I want you to think now of, oh, I didn't know that erases my address there. It's not what I wanted to do. It's all right. Okay, we got that one anyway. So what we're going to look at now is exactly what SHA-256 is, okay, because this is another number, and we'll kind of come back to the addresses in a second. But SHA-256 is the cryptographic hash that's used a lot in Bitcoin. It's part of the proof of work algorithm that miners use. It's used also in the creation of addresses from a private key. So remember, we can go look at the rich list real quick, just so you can see. Now, the thing is about, let's go see if my money was stolen too real quick. Should be gone. Let's see. If not, well, maybe that's what we need to do a better job of, is teaching people how to do that. There, it's gone. See? So now you'll see the final balance, 0, because whoever this is, 1DK6 has stolen my Bitcoin. Womp, 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 womp. Doo-doo-doo. No, I'm just kidding. It was meant for that. So congratulations. Whoever got that, they know how to use a private key to remove money from accounts. So what a private key is it's permission to use the money that sits in an address. So what we're going to go look at right now is the Bitcoin rich list, okay? So what I want you to see is that, number one, one thing we're not going to see on this rich list, which people get a little bit confused on, is Satoshi isn't on this list because he mined all the original Bitcoin transactions way back in 2009, 2010, right? So he actually owns like 10 to 20,000 addresses, tons of Bitcoin in there. Rumor has it it's about 1 million coins, and they've never been used. So they're sitting there. They're just fine. What we're going to be looking at is a total different thing. This is people's addresses that have Bitcoin. So for instance, this address right here, well, you can't really count these top two. I'll tell you why. This right here is the cold wallet for one of the exchanges. Okay, oops, I want to make sure you're looking at the screen. Oh, you are. This one here, also a Bitfinex cold wallet. So you can see this one here has 141,000 Bitcoins in it. This one here has 105,000. So this is somebody's address here. Okay, and supposedly it has 98,000. Let's go see. We're going to go to the blockchain real quick. We're going to drop that address in there just to make sure that this is true. When we bring up this address, we're going to go to BTC, and we're going to see that they have 96,798 Bitcoins. Must be nice. If we go to figure out Priv, exactly what that currently stands at, it's a whopping $3.2 billion sitting in this address right now. So imagine how secure would Bitcoin be if we were able to go backwards and take the public address, the address, and we were to, from that, be able to figure out the private key. Well, you just saw what happens if somebody knows the private key. If somebody knows the private key, they just robbed me of $11. So if I knew the private key of this address here, I would be able to become $3.2 billion richer. So what I'm showing you that for is so you get a little idea of, well, wait a second. So there's tons of hackers in the world, number one. They're everywhere. And all they need, Jaron, is the private key to empty this. What about a password, Jaron? Don't they need a password? Nope. What about their seed words? Don't they? Nope. They don't need any of that. If you have the private key of an address, you are authorized to spend any money in that address. If I had this private key, I'd be able to send this to myself and be $3.2 billion richer. So number one, anybody who's telling you Bitcoin is hackable, this person can get in, the NSA knows the code. Well, if you don't think there's people in this world that would kind of like $3.2 billion transferred in 10 minutes to their account, you're confusing yourself, okay? You're very confused. Let's go back and look at some more. This account has 94,000. This account 79, 69. So this is the Bitcoin rich list. Some of these wallets are, like I said, this is CoinCheck's wallet. Here's Kraken's wallet. They're cold storage. That's an exchange. That makes a lot of sense that they would have a lot in there. Here's another one for Kraken. Some of these other ones are probably unknown. Nobody knows. This tells you how many transactions they have. Let's take this one. It's got 23,000 Bitcoin, number 27 on the rich list. Let's go back here, drop it in here, and see. Certainly, it's going to look like they've got 23,969. And again, if we want to check the current standing of this one, we would go back to, by the way, I use Priv.com for this little converter. Really nice, keeps updated with the current price. $793 million. Sitting there for the taking, all you need is a private key. What if I told you this tonight? Are you ready for this? I'm going to show you tonight every single private key in existence. Hold up, Jaron. You just said we can steal $3.2 billion right now if we knew the private key, followed by you saying you're going to show us every single private key in existence. How is this possible? Can we all steal $3.2 billion tonight? Well, you're going to see why both those things are, well, showing every private key is true, and the fact of the impossibility of stealing $3.2 billion. And we're about to see why that is. So it's going to get interesting. So anyway, we just saw the Bitcoin rich list. Obviously, this is how many coins are in all these addresses. And believe me, if it was hackable, do you think somebody would have already hacked one of these addresses? You can keep scrolling down here. I mean, if it was hackable, wouldn't somebody have taken this person's address with 10,000 BTC? Keep scrolling down. Look at all these pages. We'll go to page 5. If it was hackable, wouldn't somebody steal 142 million? Wouldn't they steal 134 million? Why not steal 4,000 BTC for 132 million? How about 3,700 BTC for 122 million? All right, so this is kind of what, this just moved January 1st. Tells you when the last transaction was. So looks like January 1st, this person added 3,700 BTC, $122 million to this address. Pretty insane. And we know that Satoshi's not on there. All right, so we're going to go back and we're going to discover a little bit more. And then I'm going to show you all the private keys, and you'll see why. I showed this the other night on Monday at the late show, and everybody was a little bit confused, thinking I was teaching people how to steal money, which technically I am. But on the other hand, it's more of a training exercise so that you realize how safe your crypto is. So let's continue on with, oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. All right. So we're going to be talking about SHA-256. Let me go back here real quick. I don't like that look. Nope, not that one yet. This one. All right. And lower. Hold on a second. Okay. Computer was a little bit frozen. It's a little behind. You caught up? All right, good. All right. So SHA-256 is the chances basically of getting a private key right, okay, which means that you have a 2 to the 256 odds or chances of getting into a private key. Now, does that look large to you? Because it doesn't, to me, I look at that at first, I'm like, that doesn't seem like that big of a number. It's really hard to tell how big exactly is 2 to the 256, right? But one thing we can do to make it a little bit easier is let's divide that by 8. So what you would get is 2 to the 32nd 8 times, right? That's easier to show you for a couple reasons, but number one, 2 to the 32nd is equal to 4.2 billion, which is a number that I think I can understand that number. You can understand that number. It's a number we can kind of grasp, okay? So instead of saying 2 to the 256, which gets a little bit questionable, like I don't really know how big that number is, we now basically have 4.2 billion 8 times in a row, which still may not seem really understandable. But we're going to get deep into why that is here in a second. We're going to move to this page where I've already got something set up for myself here. All right. So basically that's what we're looking at. We're not going to take the 0.2 because it gets a little bit confused. We're just going to say it's 4 billion. So remember, we're even going a little bit lower than it is. Okay, so we've got 4 billion times itself basically 8 times. 4 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion, right? Okay, so we're going to figure out exactly what this means. Now, let's say that we have some really awesome graphic processor, okay? It's amazing. And most computers don't do this. I mean, even a very nice computer wouldn't do this, but it would take a specialized computer. But let's say that we've got this GPU unit. It's amazing. We've souped it up. I think most computers, maybe a really good graphic processor card that you might have on a regular PC might be able to do 1 billion hashes per second, but probably not. But let's say that this GPU that we got, we've got the MFer. It's this new brand, the MFer GPU. Okay, it's amazing. Let's just put it that way. And it can do 4 billion hashes per second. Okay, so it's 4 billion hashes per second, which is a lot, right? I mean, that's a ton. It's basically checking. Before we were going through and saying we had people with apps and they could check different things. Well, now all of a sudden we've created this GPU and it can do 4 billion hashes per second. Okay, that's our awesome GPU. It's just killing it. All right, now imagine that we have 4 billion of those computers. Okay, so now all of a sudden we've got 4 billion of those computers that we just talked about. First, we only had one. We had one GPU doing 4 billion hashes per second. And now all of a sudden, we've got 4 billion of those. Okay, so we've got 4 billion of those specialized computers. That's pretty incredible. Now we've got 4 billion computers doing that. For like comparison, some estimate that Google, and I don't know the exact number now, but Google has like 1 to 5 million servers. Okay, all across the world. They've got like 1 to 5 million. And in reality, many of those are going to be far less powerful than our top-notch GPU that we just made that does 4 billion hashes per second, okay? But let's pretend that Google now replaces its 4 million computers. Let's say that instead of 1 to 5, we're going to give them 4. Just a little easier because we're using all 4s here. So let's say we just replace Google, and we say, Google, you now have 4 million computers that can do what our fancy GPU machines could do, okay? And now let's say that instead of 4 million, we give them 1,000 times more. Here, Google, instead of having 4 million computers, we're going to give you 1,000 times more. So now Google's just ridiculous. They're out of this world. They've got 1,000 times more servers than they have now, and each of those servers does the 4 billion hashes per second. Okay? That's a ton. So better computers, 1,000 times more, and that's basically our second B. So now we have 4 billion hashes per second, right, on our GPU, and we have Google with their 4 billion computers, and let's call that, I don't know, a super Google. Okay, so that's our new name, is when you have 1,000 of these, 1,000 times more than these computers, they're huge. We're going to call that a super Google. It's just the idea of just a monstrosity of computers, okay? So now what you basically have is you've got a super Google doing all this freaking work, okay? So we've got now a super Google killing it. And we have to remember now, let's imagine that we gave half the people on Earth, okay? I think they say it's 8 billion, 7, right? Let's just say it's 8 billion. So there's 8 billion people on Earth, and we're going to give half of them, right? So half the people on Earth, we're just going to hand them a Google, a super Google, okay? So remember, we've got 4 billion GPUs, a GPU doing 4 billion hashes per second, and we've now got a super Google, okay? So we've got super Google here that has that many. Remember, it's 4, we gave them 1,000 times more, so they've got a super Google. How many computers is that? Insane amount, right? Doing that much work. We got the super Google. Look what they're doing. And each of them, now we know that there's 4 billion, because we said half of the 8 billion people on Earth is 4 billion. There's 4 billion people, and we give each one of them a super Google. So you'll start to see how ridiculous these numbers get. The GPU doing 4 billion hashes per second. We now have a super Google of all those computers doing exactly what that one GPU does. Now we've given half the people on Earth, 8 billion people, we've given 4 billion of them each their own super Google computer, right? So each of them has a ridiculous, and they're all running the same thing. They're all running 4 billion hashes per second. You get a super Google, you get a super Google, everybody gets a super Google. It's really awesome. All right, and we're only at our third multiplier right now. We're only at our third multiplier, and you're starting to see how ridiculous it is. Now let's get crazy. Now we make 4 billion copies of Earth somehow, all right, which has 4 billion people, each with 4 billion supercomputers, or a super Google, that can do 4 billion hashes per second. Insanity, right? So instead of, remember, each person on Earth now has their own super Google. But instead of that, we're going to take Earth, and we're going to say there's 4 billion of them. This is what happens when you multiply 4 billion times 4 billion times 4 billion times 4 billion. Now we've got 4 billion Earths, each filled with 4 billion people, each with their own super Google, each running 4 billion hashes per second. It's getting insane. Let's see if we can do this anymore. What do you say what would we call the idea of 4 billion Earths? Well, let's go with the globe Earth nonsense and say that 4 billion Earths makes what would be called a super galaxy. So now we've got this super galaxy, which consists of 4 billion Earths filled with each person, with each 4 billion people, each doing the super Google. Okay, that's ridiculous. I know, it's getting insane. So we got a super galaxy now. And what is a super galaxy? It is 4 billion Earths. Okay, so now we've got this super galaxy running. Anyway, right now we're only at 2 to the 160. Okay, and we're going to get even deeper. Now, for this 4 billion here, let's say that, let's call this 4 billion seconds. Okay, so at this point we're doing 4 billion seconds because we have to multiply by another 4 here. 4 billion seconds, which is equal to 126.8 years. Okay, and let's multiply those seconds by 4 billion again. Okay, and we get 126, so we go 126.8 times 4 billion, and we get 507 billion years. Remember, we're only here. Okay? So, if we had our super amazing GPU, remember, and it can do 4 billion hashes per second. Remember, that's even more than than your computer certainly can't do that many that you're on right now. Mine certainly can't. And we've upped that to doing 4 billion hashes per second, and we've got a GPU that does that. And then we have Google, who has 4 billion of those, and we now have, and we called that a super Googleplex farm or whatever we called it, and we gave half the people on Earth each their own super Googleplex farm of 4 billion super amazing GPUs each, and then we had 4 billion Earths, making our super fake, super big, super galaxy, all with 4 billion people each owning their own super Googleplex thing, and all of them are guessing numbers at a rate of 4 billion seconds. So every time they're doing one, they're doing it for 4 billion seconds. Excuse me. And we said that they're doing that times 4 billion years, or times 4 billion, to get 507 billion. So you can start to see how deep this is getting. Then still, even because we didn't get to this last 4 billion here, we haven't even got there yet, then each of these computers, so we've got all this going on for 507 billion years. And at that point right there, each of those people doing it still only has a 1 in 4 billion chance of correctly guessing a private key. That's insanity. That's insanity. Big numbers get stupid. Now, miners use a specialized system. It's called ASIC. I'm sure you've seen them for sale. People used to be able to mine Bitcoin with your own computer, but you can't do it anymore. It's gotten out of hand. But these are called application-specific integrated circuits, and these machines are, specifically designed only to mine for Bitcoin. And they're about 1,000 times better than this GPU here that I talked about. Doing 4 billion hashes per second, they're about 1,000 times better than that. So if you think about that, all the miners combined on Earth are about 1/3. So think of all the miners mining Bitcoin today. They're about 1/3 of what we would call the Google farm, this one here, with 4 billion computers doing, the second step, basically, of 2 to the 32nd, which is what we were, I don't know why I think it keeps coming up. 2 to the 32nd was the second step. And that's 1/3 of all the miners on Earth right now are doing about that much. That's how much they're getting to, which is about 4 billion. So maybe that helps a little. And, back to the idea of having a database of all the addresses and private keys, right? And that's something I've had asked before. Is there a possibility of, let me go back one page. Nope. Can I have a blank page, please? Nope. Nope. Thank you. Let's go here for a second. All right. So that might help you a little. Maybe you get a little bit confused, but when you take 4 billion, you multiply it by 4 billion, and you multiply it by 4 billion, you start to see this thing expand to where you're thinking, oh, there's, each person on Earth has this super, but wait a second, now there's 4 billion of those Earths with 4 billion people, each with 4 billion computers doing 4 billion hashes per second. And then we haven't even gotten to the amount of time, 507 billion years. Insanity. Think of 507 billion years. It's impossible to even comprehend, right? So every bit of storage, and again, we're going back to people asking me, couldn't we just have a database of all the possible addresses and all the possible private keys? If we took every bit of storage in existence, so every bit of storage. Now think of all these storage mechanisms that there are right now, right? And think of all the places on Earth. So you're talking about, your computer, my computer, Japan's computers, China, Google, all put together, Amazon servers, the NSA servers, every thumb drive, every external drive, every hard drive, every server, and we combine them all, that equals about 1 zettabyte. Okay, maybe something you never heard because it's a little bit of a big, ridiculous idea. 1 zettabyte, which is actually only equal to 2 to the 70 bytes. Okay, it's about a billion. So if you don't know what a zettabyte is, it's 1 billion terabytes, which people have heard about. You know what a terabyte is. You might have a computer that has a terabyte of storage on it. The total is 1 billion terabytes. So you would need 1 billion 1 terabyte hard drives to store a zettabyte. Okay. Now they also have something called, which you may have never heard of, a yottabyte. It's the next step. Well, I don't know if it's the next step up. It's a bigger step up. But a yottabyte is equal to 1,000 times more than a zettabyte. Okay, we already said how big a zettabyte is, and a yottabyte is 1,000 more than a zettabyte, which is, again, pretty ridiculous. Now, to store all the Bitcoin addresses that are possible, okay, to store all Bitcoin addresses. So imagine you want a computer, you said, Jaron, I want to make a database of all the Bitcoin addresses. To store all the Bitcoin addresses that are possible would take you 25 yottabytes. Remember, a yottabyte is 1,000 times more than all the memory currently existing on Earth. It's stupidly insane. If that's 1,000 times more, and then we have to do 25 yottabytes, that's just to store all the addresses. And so that might make, think of how much memory is there. Think of how many videos you can put on things. And this is text file. This isn't even video. This isn't even pictures. This isn't even JPG or, something tax heavy. This is text files, basically. So you're talking about, it's ridiculous. You couldn't possibly have enough coal in existence or possibly make enough electricity to even think about running 1 or 2 yottabytes, let alone 25 yottabytes. Maybe you get it now, maybe not. We're going to continue on and see what else we can do here. So this is why Bitcoin is safe. There isn't enough power. There's not enough computers. There's not enough robots who can crack or hack Bitcoin. Remember, you can pull money out of any address. You can go take it. It's just the same as a box. How many boxes can we put Bitcoin in to where it becomes impossible that in human history, or with all the humans possible, with all the computers checking all the time? So maybe people now will start to realize the power of Bitcoin, because you're being able to store your own money, your own finances are in a box, that there are so many possible boxes that no one will ever find yours. And again, not to confuse you now, I know it gets a little bit confusing when I say this, because I think it needs to be said that Bitcoins don't exist in the way that you might think, right? They don't go in and out of wallets. There's not Bitcoin sitting in a wallet. There's not Bitcoin in your wallet or Bitcoin in my wallet. What we just saw, my Bitcoin get stolen. They didn't take anything out of my wallet and put it into theirs. Bitcoin doesn't actually go into boxes like we talked about earlier. What an address is and what a private key is simply part of the ledger. It keeps track of all the Bitcoins. And an address is where Bitcoins must be, and a private key is permission to move them around. Okay, so Bitcoins have to exist in an address. So Bitcoins existed technically, or not technically, in my address, but not in reality again. Basically, my private key allowed the Bitcoins there on the ledger to be moved around. Somebody came with my private key and put them in a different address. But again, nothing moved, because all that happens is the ledger gets updated. Remember last time we talked, and maybe this will make it a little bit easier. Last time I did a video, I talked about these 4 people, and I said, if they each have a certain amount of Bitcoins, and they're going to keep a ledger each. And this is what ultimately Bitcoin is. And remember, so let's say they each have, 5 Bitcoin, right? But they don't actually have anything. It's a mental thing. So think these guys are thinking, okay, we each have 5. And they want, let's say, Larry, Mo, Curly, and Shemp, okay? and they want to start passing Bitcoin between each other. That it's kind of a mental thing. If Larry wants to give Mo a Bitcoin, then on their ledger, they would just say, instead of 5, we know Larry now has 4, and he would know that Mo has 6, and Curly has 5, and Shemp has 5. And Mo would write the same thing down. He'd say, yeah, he has 4, I have 6, he has 5, he has 5, and Curly would say, yep, 4 for Larry, 6 for Mo, 5 for me, 5 for Shemp, 4, 6, 5, 5. Okay, great. So what happened here, as you noticed, is nothing actually moved. These guys each had 5 Bitcoins we talked about here, but nothing moved. It's just a ledger. See what I'm saying? This is what happened. So the ledger just changes. There's nothing that actually goes to anyone. That's the kind of difficult thing for people to understand. And again, if Shemp decides to give Mo, oops, my little thing got messed there. Right? If he decides to say, all right, I'm going to give him 3 now. Right? Well, Larry said, oh yeah, I've got 4, and now he's got 9, and he's got 5, and he's got 2. So each person would write 4, 9, 5, and 2, and 4, 9, 5, and 2, okay, and 4, 9, 5, and 2. So even though nothing actually changed hands, the ledger keeps changing, and if you don't know how miners work, we've talked about that. You have miners that are mining transactions. They're pulling these transactions in, and as soon as they all agree, yes, 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 all right, great, they put it onto what's called the blockchain, okay? And the blockchain just keeps updating, and it never can be changed. Once it's updated, nobody can ever go edit this. It is set in stone forever and ever, held on many computers across the world. And the blockchain just keeps building, and what it is it's a running ledger. So the confusing part, I may have confused you there, I may have lost you there, it's my bad. When I say that Bitcoins don't actually exist, you have to realize they're just numbers on a ledger. And what an address is where these Bitcoins technically sit, or where they're said to sit. And when you move them, it's just an update to the ledger. And they actually don't go anywhere. It's just a readjustment. Oh, now those are over here. Now these are over here. Now these belong to him. And then a private key allows you to be able to spend those. So if Larry doesn't have the private key for his Bitcoins, then he can't move them anywhere. And we consider them his, even though they're not actually, a physical thing that is his. So let's continue on and talk a little bit about how cool this is. That we have a decentralized system now with this idea, right? It's decentralized. Okay. And I'm going to show you all the private keys in a second. So we have a decentralized system. There's no owner. It's equal opportunity for everyone to bank however they want, to hold value. Literally, you need 5 minutes at a computer, and you're all set. You can have your private key, you can have your address, and people can send you coin. This is something that hasn't happened in this world yet, right? Until Bitcoin. Think about it. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Doesn't matter if you're in Singapore or Bangladesh or Mozambique or the Congo. It doesn't matter, because you can, if you can have access to a computer at some point, for 5 minutes, you can generate yourself an address, and you can have your private key. And by the way, you don't even need necessarily the address. You just need the private key. The private key, as we talked about earlier, we said the private key becomes the public key, becomes the address. Okay, so if you have this, if you have the private key, all this is taken care of. You don't need it. Okay, but you can't have this and work your way back. If you have somebody's address, like for instance, you have my address now, well, the one I gave you also had a private key, so you have permission to spend the money there, but you can't do it with one of my other addresses. So go to my website, go to support, go down to where there's a Bitcoin address. You'll see my Bitcoin address there. You cannot spend anything that's in there. Why? Because you don't have the private key. Who has the private key? I have it. That's what makes it my address. That's what makes me have the ability to spend it. Again, how do I feel safe with Bitcoin? Because there's no possible way you're ever going to get my private key. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. So remember, private keys allow Bitcoins to be spent. Private keys are mathematically related to their corresponding address, which is hashed through the 256 SHA-256, which we talked about, the algorithm. And what this does is reduce this length. So just so you know, a lot of people ask, are private keys and addresses the same thing? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Are public keys and addresses the same thing? And they technically are. It's just hashed. So this public key is hashed out to get the address. Basically, it shortens it, okay? So in Bitcoin, the private key and public key are 256-bit numbers. So the total number of private keys is 2 to the 256. So if we go, let me see if I have that page here. I believe I made a graphic. We did that one, we did that one, we did that one. Yes, there you go. So this is the number I mentioned in the thumbnail. A quattuorvigintillion possible private and public keys. This number is stupid insane. Stupid insane. I mean, just look at that, and again, it's hard for us to even, excuse me, fathom. Why is my graphic off the side of the page? Well, there's more numbers over that way. It's stupid. It becomes almost ridiculous to grasp it. But the public and private keys, these are 256 bits, which is 2 to the 256. Okay, that's the total number of private keys possible. Currently, there's something like 460 million Bitcoin addresses in existence right now. Okay, many of them have 0 BTC, of course. And a Bitcoin address is simply a 160-bit. Remember, we talked about 2 to the 160, which is the flipping of the coin, right? It's a 260-bit identifier, and an address is either 26 to 35, I think, alphanumeric numbers. So that's what an address is. If you go look at any address, it's basically 26 to 35 alphanumeric characters. It either starts with a 1 or a 3, or recently you may have seen BC1 has started showing up now. It's a destination for a Bitcoin payment. Okay, these are addresses. Okay, so they're free, by the way. You can create as many as you want right now. Go ahead, make 1 million if you want. If every person on Earth made 1 billion addresses, okay, so let's look at that real quick. Let's erase this. Because you might say, what do you mean you can make as many as you want? I can go right now and show you me making address after address. I'll just keep making addresses all day. So if every person on Earth made 1 million addresses, that would be 7.7 billion people times 1 million, and that would be 7 trillion billion, million, thousand, zero. Okay, so that's how many addresses if every person on Earth made 1 million different Bitcoin addresses. All right, that's a ton. So maybe it'd be a waste of time if everything would be fine. Bitcoin wouldn't be hurt. Remember, that's 7.7, quadrillion. 7 quadrillion, right? Sorry, that million, billion, trillion, quadrillion. Okay, 7 quadrillion, which is only, so if you're talking, I don't like that thing showing up. We'll go underneath it. So that's 100,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion. So we're only there. And that's every person on Earth with 1 million addresses. Do you think it will be okay with all this left to go? I would tend to think so. I think we'll be just fine. So if you don't, I'm going to try and see if there's any other details that you need to know that won't get too crazy. Just so you know, because I know people might be, and again, you could do a lot of research with this on your own and find a lot of, because might be confusing when I said which addresses start with a 1, which addresses start with a 3. There's lots of different addresses. There's something called a P2PKH, which is called pay to public key hash. It starts with a 1, okay? And there's 2 to the 160 possible addresses that start with a 1. And then there's also something called P2SH, which is pay to script hash. Some people call it something else, but you can just call it that, pay to script hash. And it starts with a 3. There are 2 to the 160 possible addresses that start with a 3. And now we've added bench 32, which is also another Bitcoin address. It starts with BC1. So if you ever see a Bitcoin address, it'll start with a 1 or a 3 or BC1. And there's 2 styles of that, by the way, which one is called, it's long and short. Okay, this might be a little bit high level, but it's good to know. If you're talking about the short version of the bench 32, and then the long version is used in, it's stuff you probably won't need to get. It's like multiple signature transactions and other complex stuff. We don't really need to get into that. But there's 2 to the 260 possibilities of this one. Sorry. 2 to the, nope, that's wrong. I said 260. It's 2 to the 160. Don't want to mess that up. Okay. 260 possible bench 32 addresses. And then this, the bench 32 that is the long style. Sorry, this is the short one. The long style is 2 to the 256 possible BC1 bench 32 long addresses. So one thing you might notice, I don't know if you're paying attention, but there are more public and private keys than addresses. Because obviously there's 2 to the 256 private keys, 2 to the 256 public keys, and like we said, there's only 2 to the 160 addresses. But some addresses have more than 1 public key, and as a result, more than 1 private key. Not terribly important. It has to do with hashing and the fact that we shorten addresses, right? So that there's compressed and uncompressed addresses. One key goes to both. It's not very important when we're talking about this. So if you have the private key, then you have the public key, but you can't do it in reverse. You can't go, thank goodness, or else all that money would be gone. Okay. So someone asked, like I said, if they're the same, yes, a public key and an address are the same thing. It's just hashed. So you can put them, you can go find a website that does it for you. If you have the public key, you can put that in and you'll get the address. Again, just because you have the public key, can't go the opposite way and get the private key. So it's just a hashed version of the public key. So the number of possible private keys is so large, right? This number here, so big. Okay. How about this? And see if you believe this. Like we talked about flipping the coin 160 times. This number is so big that no one will ever randomly generate the same private key twice. What do you mean, Jaron? I mean that we have wallets all over the place. We have Coinbase wallets. We've got things on your phone. You've got wallets on your computer. You can generate addresses offline. You may have heard people talk about that, to do like a cold storage, to do a paper wallet. You can download Ubuntu, and you can generate addresses on your home computer. And somebody might ask, well, wait, how do you know that that private key hasn't been given out already? Well, like I just said, this number is so big that it's impossible for somebody to generate the same private key twice. Okay, which is like, what? Insane. It's the way it goes. You can't randomly generate a duplicate private key. What matters to us is if there's some sort of brute force attack, and if you don't know what brute force attack is, it's when you basically have a computer try and crack an address with a private key over and over again, only just trying to get it. And it would have to, in order for them to do it, this is the only number that matters, is to do a brute force attack would take a computer going through 2 to the 256 possible private keys, right? Even though there's less addresses, that doesn't matter, because if you're going to be brute forcing an address, it doesn't matter that there's only, let's say there's only 10 addresses, right? It wouldn't make a difference. You still have to go through all the possible private keys to break those 10 addresses, right? So it doesn't matter that there's only, 2 to the 160 addresses. You still are going to have to go through all the possible private keys to try and break one of these 10. It's not like, oh, there's only 10 addresses. Well, then I only need 10 private keys. Well, true. But to find those 10, you're going to have to go through 2 to the 256, which again is an insane number. What is 2 to the 256? This number right here. It is a quadrivigintillion possible private keys. Again, this number doesn't look very intimidating. Oh, 2 to the 256, what is that? Well, that number is this number, 115 quadrivigintillion. It's insanity. I don't know how else to describe it to you besides that. Insanity. All right, so we're almost done, and then we'll get to showing you all the possible private keys. What? How's he going to do that? I'll show you. So a quindecillion possible addresses. We showed you that earlier, right? And the problem with, I know people say, well, what if, can we run out of addresses? Is a question I get a lot. Will we ever run out of addresses? Well, we know that there is a quindecillion. That was on the other page that I screwed up by erasing. A quindecillion possible addresses. Okay? And if we divided them equally to everyone on Earth, so 1 quindecillion divided by 7.7 billion equals 196 undecillion addresses. So again, if you don't know what that number is, it's insanity. I think maybe, let me see if I can go back and show you. I'm not going to be able to, was it this page? Unfortunately, I bet you I'll never be able to find which page I had that on. Was it this one? Ah, it is. I got lucky. Okay, let's do this one real quick. Let's erase this just so I can show you. So this is a quindecillion possible addresses, right? So like I said, we took the, go away please. Let's go yellow. Thank you. So let's go with, like we said, if we had 1 quindecillion, which is this number here, and we divided that by 7.7 billion, we get 196 undecillion, which is a fun word to say, undecillion addresses, which is 196 followed by 36 zeros, which is this number here. Okay, so this number here, so even taking this big number and dividing it by 7.7 billion, then each person has this number of addresses. Okay, which is, do we each need that many Bitcoin addresses? Well, of course not. They say that there's 2 to the 63 grains of sand, supposedly. Again, how do they know that? I don't know. It's just what you can look it up. That's what they say. I don't know if somebody did some sort of test or something. So there's 2 to the 63rd grains of sand on Earth. Okay, so that tells you a little bit more about what the number 2 to the 256 is, if 2 to the 63rd is the number of grains of sand. Okay, so if you've got this many grains of sand on Earth, which is, again, out of this world, and so imagine for a second that each of the 9 quintillion, which, by the way, if you don't know what this number is, 2 to the 63 is 9 quintillion. Okay, so imagine there's 9 quintillion little tiny grains of sand, and somehow on each of those grains of sand, there's 9 quintillion, and on each of them we somehow put 7.7 billion people. So there's 9 quintillion grains of sand. On each of the grains of sand, we put 7.7 billion people. And then we had just said, now we want to divide this number up by then. Each person still would get 3.5 billion addresses. That's insanity. Okay, it's just insanity to think about that you would have every grain of sand on Earth, and somehow we put 7.7 billion people on each grain of sand on Earth. And then from there, we decide to give them each an equal amount of this quintillion possible addresses. You would still end up with every person getting 3.5 billion. It gets just stupid, really. And remember, this number isn't even close to the amount of possible private keys that you would need anyway to hack one of these addresses. It's a much bigger number. It's 2 to the 256, which we described earlier. And I know what you're saying, but well, what if all the addresses were used? You know, what if we used all of them? All these addresses you're talking about, what if they were used up? Then what would we do? Well, they would just create a new address with possibly 2 to the 256 possible combos. They already did that. Remember, Bitcoin started with a 1 and then a 3 for a long time, and then they go in after and they added BC1. So even if somehow, which is impossible, all these numbers start getting used up, they would just start a new address, maybe call it CD5, right? And then say CD5 is going to have 2 to the 256. And then after that, well, what if we need E7, 4? All right, well, then that one to the 256. So again, you can just keep doing different addresses, and they all have. So this is kind of the beauty behind the idea here, because we started out with how many boxes would it take? And I think somebody found that number. I think when you look at what we're talking about here, we are at a number now that is completely safe. And I'll even show you more reasons for that. So again, look how ridiculous this number is. 115 quattuorvigintillion. All right, that's how many public and private keys there are. And let me show you how insanely safe your Bitcoin is. I believe that's all I need to draw. Let me take you over here 1 second, and I'm going to show you something crazy. Okay, so I'm about to show you every single private key. How is this possible, Jaron? You're going to show us a quattuorvigintillion possible private keys? Yes, I'm about to show you. What do you mean? You're going to show us the private key for the addresses that you showed $3.2 billion in? Well, that becomes the problem. Okay, here we go. We're looking now at a site called keys.lol. Pretty funny. Keys.lol. There's a lot of sites like this. This is just one of them. What you're looking at is private keys. What you're seeing next to them is the compressed and uncompressed address. What do you mean, Jaron? What do you mean? I mean that we're looking at right now this private key, which will spend anything in this address. What do you mean? How could this be online? So if you take this address and we go copy it and we go put it into our blockchain, pull it up, you will see that it's got nothing in it. Okay, it's got 0. But if it did have anything in it, I could immediately steal it because I have the private key. The private key is right here. So if that had any money in it, I'd be able to take this private key and immediately go pop it into my wallet, just like that person stole from me earlier. I wouldn't call it stole. They took my, they used my private key. It's not stealing. If you give somebody your private key, it's not really stealing. Hate to tell you. It's giving them permission. So earlier I gave somebody permission to spend my $11, which they did by sending it probably to their own wallet. Okay. So again, here's the crazy thing. If you want to see what I'm talking about, every key possible is on this website. Now, you might be saying, well, Jaron, I thought you said earlier that it would take, well, it would. It would take a ridiculous amount of storage. So what this site does is it generates the private key and the addresses as you're sitting here going to the next page. Excuse me. So what I mean by that is you'll see up here that it says Bitcoin keys page. Okay. This is the page number that we're on. So remember we were looking at these ridiculous numbers I was drawing on earlier. A quattrovigintillion, a quindecillion. So we're on right now Bitcoin page blankety blankety blank. Now, on this website is every single private key. What do you mean? Every single one. So what about for these addresses, Jaron? All these private keys are on this website? Absolutely. 100%. This address right here with 4,000 BTC in it, this address right here, easily on that website. The problem is you'll never find it. How do I know? Because the fastest computers in the world multiplied by a Googleplex, multiplied by every person on Earth getting a Googleplex, multiplied by 4 billion of those Earths, multiplied by 4 billion hashes per second, multiplied by, as we went through, 4 billion seconds, which equaled 120. Remember all that math that we did was to prove to you that you will never find the money in these addresses, even though the addresses are right here. All you have to do is find it. You can hit this little dice button and it will randomly go to a new page. And we will see this thing lights up with red here. What the red means is that there's no current BTC in that address. So this is what I was on the other day, and I saw people messaging me saying, you shouldn't teach people how to steal other people's money. I'm not teaching you how to steal money. I'm teaching you the impossibility of it. Okay, you have to go back and think of how many possible public and private keys there were. They're all on this website. They're all here. Go find them. The problem is you'll never find it. Why do I know that? Because the fastest computers in the world multiplied by 4, multiplied by 4 billion, multiplied by 4 billion. They can't find it. So if you think, you can stay here all day if you want. Keep clicking this button. I mean, think of how these big numbers, this is the point of this video. The big numbers, they don't register with us. We're thinking, well, if they're all here, I'll find one. I'll just sit here and hit this dice button until I get the address. And, you know, over here, red, 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 red. If you ever find a yellow one, it means one's been used before. Keep going until you find a green one. And guess what? You just got money for free. You could steal money all day tonight. Just stay here for 24 hours. Stay here for 48 hours. Keep hitting this button. You know why I tell you to do this? Because only this will prove to you how secure your Bitcoin is. When you sit here for 4 hours, for 8 hours, for 12 hours, and you realize, oh shit, I can't find any address with any money in it, you'll realize, oh, now I get how secure Bitcoin is. Because even if every single person on Earth sat here, and even if every single person on Earth hit this dice button every second, and even if every single person hit it for 100 years, and they did it every day, 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day, 1,000,000 times a day, 100 years in their life, you're not going to find any Bitcoin. And that alone should teach you how insanely big these numbers are. What you can't really figure out is look at this page number. Now think about how many keys are on this page. Okay, what is that, 100? I'm not going to count them. Maybe it's 100. And then you have to realize that for us to go through 37 pages, okay, well, we're going through 37 pages. Here we go, 37 pages. It's going to take us, I don't know, a couple minutes. What about to go through 373 pages? It's going to take us a little while. What about to go through 3,737 pages? That's going to take us a pretty long time. How about to go through 37,000 pages? I mean, how often can I go through these pages? One. Let's see. And we have to wait to make sure there's nothing in there. All right, it's all red, it's all red, it's all red, it's all red. Next page, click. Okay, it's all red, it's all red, it's all red, it's all red. Let's wait, and nothing. Okay, let's go to the next one again and again. Okay, so I don't even know how many that would take me. Maybe I could do 20 pages a minute. What is that? About 3 seconds a page. It's a little bit extravagant, but let's do that. I'm going to do the math. I don't think you can see my calculator. Sorry. But if we're doing, what did we say? 20 pages a minute, right? Times 60 minutes. So we can do 1,200 pages an hour. Sorry, I'm writing this down so I don't forget. Okay, 120 pages per hour. We said 20 a minute. Yes. Okay, and so that's an hour. Times 24 hours, which is 28,800 a day with no sleep, no nothing. Okay, that's 28,800 a day, and times 365 days. Okay, I can do 10,512,000 pages per year. Okay, and let's say everybody on Earth decided to play this game with me. We're all going to do 10 million private keys a year times 7 billion. Hold on, that's million to million billion. Okay, equals this number here, which is million, billion, trillion, 80 quadrillion. So we can do 80 quadrillion pages per year if everybody on Earth does what we're doing right now. So 80 billion is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of zeros. So 80, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're only going to be able to do that many pages. If we do it, every person on Earth does nothing but this for the whole year. This is the amount of pages we would have left, and you have to get it right. You have to correctly come up with that page. It's not possible. There's computers trying it as we speak, trying to crack all the Bitcoin addresses. And even this, I still don't think, the only way you'll get it is to sit here and play with this yourself. Keep clicking this, keep clicking this, keep clicking this, and you'll realize, oh, I see it. And then this is Bitcoin. Now there's much, when I say better, things have branched off Bitcoin that I think are even more alluring, such as Monero. Monero is private to where you can't even see people's addresses. And if you clicked on an address, for instance, there is no such thing for Monero like this. You cannot see how much any Monero address holds. You can only do that. There's a lot of coins you can, but I'm saying Bitcoin does that. Ethereum, there's a couple, a lot of coins do that. But if you're looking for privacy, Monero is a big one because Monero, you cannot see people's addresses. Well, if I send you Monero, I can see your address. I'm sending it to you. But if I went and tried to plug your address into one of these sites, I forgot what the site is, but Monero has a site kind of like this. And if you try and put somebody's address in, it laughs at you and says, what are you trying to do? Look at somebody's address. Stop doing that. You're an idiot, because you can't do it with Monero. So there's better ideas. But even Bitcoin, the idea behind it was, could I make something so secure that not even the fastest computer on Earth, not even multiple fastest computers on Earth would ever be able to find it? And the answer is yes, that you could, that they did. So again, you can keep hitting this button. Now, the only weird thing is that if you click this button, it will go all the way to page 1. Now, don't be surprised that all of a sudden we see some yellows here. The reason for that is because since it's on page 1, a lot of people have just for fun used these. You can see here, this is the very first number that generates. It will always be the first one. And you'll notice that it's had 99 plus transactions. This is the wallet address here, 1EHN. If we copy that and take it to the address here. Now, again, the reason that's easy to find is because it's the first page of every generated list. It will always be page 1. So you can see it's had a total of 7.8 Bitcoin to go through it. It's got a final balance of 0. The last transaction was the beginning of this month. Now, because I have that private key, which I do, it's right here. Because I have that private key, I could go put that into my wallet right now. I could send money to it, and I could send money out. I could do a lot of things with it. If somebody else is watching at the same time, maybe they'll get there first and send it to themselves, but that's what people are basically doing with these transactions. That's why these are all yellow. People basically playing around. You're not going to find another page like this, except for maybe the last page. Let me see. If we go to the very last page, you'll see here, Bitcoin page 1. Now it's Bitcoin page blah, 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 blah. So you're going to find a couple yellow ones here. Again, people playing with the last possible address. But if you try and go in between, you can click that dice and you'll just find out. Will you get lucky enough to find a yellow one? Maybe. Maybe. A yellow one means nothing. Again, it means you have the private key, but all yellow means is it's had a transaction before. It doesn't mean that there's anything in it. You can actually go up here. I know you can't see. You can go up here to the URL bar, and you can actually see that the address here is keys.lol/bitcoin/ then the page number. So if I wanted, I could put page number, I don't know, what's my favorite number? Let's go 222-333-11155. Let's go to that page and see. So you'll see that page here, 222-333-11155. And you'll see that I did not get lucky, that there's no Bitcoin in those addresses. All right, let me change it. Let me add a 123 at the end of it. How about that? So now you're going to see 123 here, and you're going to again see that there's no Bitcoin here. So if you can't do it, you'll start to realize, oh, now I see the possibility of it. How about we add a 5555555555555? Is it in that spot? Sorry. Now again, there's one thing you might get confused on. This website does not have all the possible addresses and private keys on it. Okay, that would be impossible. Remember, I told you how much memory that would take. So this site does not, it generates it at the time, right? So when I type in a number, it generates what is on that page. Nobody could possibly hold all that. And the good thing is, like I said, you can't go backwards. So you can't search this site for an address, or else you'd be able to go here and say, okay, let me find the private key for this address, which has 4,400 BTC in it, right? It's not possible, because what this site is doing, so that you understand, is when I type in a page number, it's generating the private keys, and from the private key, it can then give me the addresses. So does that make sense? There's no way possible that I could search the address and get the private key. That's not how it works. It's impossible. We told you that earlier. You can't go that direction. It's mathematically impossible. What you can do is generate a private key. And like I said earlier, you don't need the address, right? All you need is a private key, because once you have a private key, it pulls out the addresses. So we can take that address right here. Oh, what do we need? For 145 million, this is the address, right? So all we need to do is keep searching until we find that address. But that's the whole point. You'll never find it. So we could bring it up and we could hit Control Find, and we could put in that address that we just pulled and say, is it anywhere? And it's not there, right? And that's the whole point, is you can keep doing that over and over again. In fact, you don't even need to do that, because if you did find this address, this one, if you found any of these addresses, any of them, they all have 4,000 Bitcoins in them. This one has 3,900 Bitcoins, 36, 32. You can keep going page after page. This one has 3,000 Bitcoins. These ones have 2,970, 2,800. Right, so there's so many addresses with millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're all right here. They're right here. Just find them. Find them. People took that last time as if I was telling people how to steal Bitcoin. And it's the complete opposite. I'm showing you the impossibility of stealing Bitcoin. They're all here. Just find them. Change the page number. Okay, maybe this page will have it, right? So pick that, put it up at the end of the address, and let's see if it's there. No, now we're at this page, and it's going to be a bunch of red. And you'll quickly realize, I see how Bitcoin works now. So the only part that you might be confused on is somebody might be saying, why don't you just search the site for the addresses here? Should be easy. This one has 2750 Bitcoin. Just search this address in this database, but it's not how it works. This site is generating these at the time I pick the page. It's generating the private keys. From the private key, you get the address. Correct? So there is no possible search function. You can't search for the address, because only the private key generates the address. That's probably the most difficult thing for you to figure out, or for people to realize. If you understand what I talked about earlier, the private key gets basically broken down to the public key. The public key gets hashed to the address. You can't go backwards. So the only thing that you can possibly do is generate the private key, and then it will generate the addresses for you. So how could I possibly search an address? I can't. The only address I can search is the one on this page. Now, is there a computer somewhere that's storing all these? Absolutely. You could take them right now. You can copy this. I can copy this page and go put it in a text file, and then I can click the next page, and I can copy it, and I can go put it in a text file, and I can copy the next page. And remember what I told you earlier, that even every bit of memory on Earth multiplied over and over and over again, you're still never going to get enough possible. It would take, what did we say, 25 yottabytes. And even 1 yottabyte is 1,000 times more storage than there is on the entire Earth. Okay, so that's how crazy this is. It's hard to understand, because I'm looking at a page here of all the possible private keys. So what do you mean? How can there be this many on there? Well, every time I click the page forward, it's generating private keys, generating the addresses. But there's no way anybody could have this stored anywhere where you'd be able to pull it backwards. It's just too much. There's not enough electricity. There's not enough coal. There's not enough steam to generate the electricity to hold that kind of database or to run that kind of storage. So it's not possible. So again, this is the insanity of big numbers. You can keep clicking this forward button all you want. And I'm sure the good thing is many people will probably sit down at their computers tonight and they will play with this site. Very excited about them possibly getting rich. And that's a good thing, because I really think that you'll sit there and at the end you'll realize, okay, now I get it. You can click this dice. You can type in your own page. Yes, I'm a human. It doesn't like robots, so it says, I'm not a robot. I'm a human. What's going on here? Maybe I'm searching too much. It's like, don't do that. All right, here we go back. So again, there's just too many pages. If you start thinking about this number, we talked about these kind of numbers earlier. And remember, we're not even, these are pages that each have 100 on them. It's not like the total number, the quadrivigintillion. This is much less than that. Well, not much less. It's only got 100 on each, so it's a quadrivigintillion divided by 100. But again, if you start thinking about how long it would take us to do this many, or this many, or this many, or this many, or this many, and as you add more and more, this is where you start multiplying out like we were earlier, right? So it starts out, well, I can do 4 billion hashes per second. Well, that's great. So that's, let's say we could do 7. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is million. Okay, billion. So let's say you can do that many hashes per second, right? But you have to keep multiplying that 7.5 billion times. And again, as you add those, it becomes insane. To do it double that, again, it's just the same thing. It's over and over and over and over and over. And every time you multiply it, that's when you start saying, okay, I got a computer that can do that. Great. Now I've got 4 billion computers that can do that. Great. Now I've got 4 billion Earths, or 4 billion people that can each have 4 billion. And then we've got 4 billion Earths full of 4 billion people, each with 4 billion computers, each doing 4 billion hashes. And you can keep going and going and going. And like we said, with all that going on, 507 billion years, at the end of all that, you still only have a 1 in 4 billion chance of correctly clicking this button and getting it right. So to say that your odds of winning the lottery are better than this is a huge understatement. The odds of winning both lotteries that just happened, right? Whatever it was, Powerball and the Mega Millions or whatever, each of them were close to $1 billion. Imagine the odds of winning both those. Insanity, right? I think the odds of winning one of them was like 101 in 700 million or something, whatever it is. I don't know what the number is, but something hundreds of millions. To win both those on the same day, your odds are far greater than clicking this dice button and finding any money. And that is hard to understand. It's hard to grasp that something, because a lot of people will come here and sit here and play this. They'll just keep clicking this button, and then it'll start to set in, and then you'll realize, it's impossible, that you're just not going to find any. And it's not like this site is lying to you, because you can go to any of these addresses. Oops, I didn't mean to click on it. I don't know what happens if you do that. Give me this one. You can go to any of these addresses and see that they're exactly. So this one says that there's no Bitcoin, so you go over here. Although this would just be a waste of your time, really. Click it here, click paste, get there, and check it out. And so again, this address has no Bitcoin, but if it did, we have the private key sitting right here. This is just another site that's the same thing. This is called Privatekeys.pw. This one's a little bit interesting. It tells you, without doing the red all the way down the side like the other one, this one tells you how much is on the page, how much transactions have happened, and how much Bitcoin is in the wallet. So again, where it says page number, hello? What's going on with this site? Page number? Hold on. No, what's going on? Bitcoin. I don't know why my page number button is not working. Usually you can, there it goes. You can usually type into this. So again, we can go 22222226677. Oops, no plus buttons. Don't do plus. That's not going to help. There we go. 5464123. All right. And then you hit jump. You're going to go to that page. It's going to lay it out for you. It's going to tell me there's no Bitcoin and there's been no transactions. And you can look down here. Again, here's the private key. Here's the compressed and the uncompressed Bitcoin address. Spend all day. Okay, what's a new number? Let's just click next and see what we get on the next one. Again, 0, 0. Okay, what about random? We'll click random. And over here, you'll actually see that it says here, page number 2.222 to the 18th out of 2 to the 75th, right? So again, random. It's just going to keep bringing up pages. And pretty soon, you're going to reach the conclusion. I see. Now, if you want to take somebody's Bitcoin, I'll show you a way that maybe you can do. But even this, I think, has already been done. It's going to be tough for you. But, hey, maybe you need money. Maybe this is something you can do. There is so again, this is privatekeys.pw. I also showed people you can use your computer to try and mine addresses or to try and break. There's a puzzle here. I told people about this. If you're going to do anything, I would do this. Somebody a while back made, this is it, privatekeys.pw, and then click puzzle up there. And you'll see somebody a long time ago dropped a bunch of Bitcoin in a bunch of different addresses based on how hard it is to break the private key. And you'll see that they did a total of, let me see what it was, total of 160 addresses. And you'll see this address right here, this address here has 1.6 Bitcoins in it and is currently available for somebody to steal. This person is offering you Bitcoin to crack the private key. Now, The problem is this 160-bit address, basically you have a 2 to the 159 to the 2 to 160th chance of breaking this. Good luck. even nobody's going to break this. Well, you can try all you want, but you'll see somebody actually did break the 115th bit. Somebody broke the 110. So whoever broke these stole the money. Not stole it. They took the money that was offered to them by giving the private key. This one had a Bitcoin in it. If you're going to start anywhere, I would start at the 64th, although a lot of people are working on that one right now. Maybe it'd be better to start at 67, 68, 69, one of these four. What do I mean start? I'll show you. So if you want number 67, let's say, 67 has 0.67 Bitcoins in it. Let's go make sure. We're going to grab this address. We're going to go over to the blockchain. Should have 0.67 Bitcoins in it. It does. There's 0.67. You can grab that and see how much money would I be winning. If you win the big prize, you can get $21,000. Okay, so let's say we wanted to do that. I'm in. Let's get $27,000. Let's go. So what you would do is, once you have that address, we know it's game number 67. You're going to go up here to the, where is it? Key finder? Yeah, key finder. So here, just change this to your own address. Okay, so don't leave it as theirs. This is this website's address. They want you to do it for them, but don't. Put in your own Bitcoin receive address. Change this to Bitcoin puzzle number 67. Hit advanced settings and change this if you want. You can go light or HD. It's how many addresses on a certain date. Let's go the HD address. Let's do both are compressed. You can leave that. Random and sequential, or random or sequential. I'll do random and sequential. Shows you where it's going to start. Shows you where it's going to end. So basically what we're trying to do now, remember somebody did this for you. They put money in a Bitcoin address and they're telling you, crack this code and you can have the money. So then what you do is when you're all set up, you hit start. Oops, I usually change this threads to a lot higher. It should have been higher. Let me stop for a second. You can change this. Well, I'm streaming. Let me just do it to 4. You can do like 12 or 15, whatever. But the higher that number is, the more your computer's going to work. So you probably don't want to do too high. And then you're going to hit start. Right now it's downloading all the possibilities. And what it's going to start doing, it's going to see it. You're going to see how fast my computer is now, is to how many keys per second. Remember earlier we were talking about 4 billion hashes per second? You're about to learn how fast my computer is. And it's so much slower than. So remember all the math that we were doing earlier, jumping from 4 billion to 4 billion, talking about the GPU that the MF or GPU and the server farms. We were basing that off 4 billion hashes per second. Well, you're about to see what my little measly, whatever I have, NVIDIA card can actually do. And it might take a minute. Maybe it's because I'm streaming. Maybe I should have left it at 2. Anyway, when it starts, so we can see down here. Wait, what? Hold on. Maybe something's wrong with this site today. People the other day saw me do it. I'm wondering, why does this all say scan rate 0? Maybe they're not working today. Unable to download database. Well, it worked the other day. I want to check back. Something's wrong because nobody's scanning. Usually this number is filled with people who are scanning a certain amount of keys per second. Usually it's anywhere from a couple thousand to, 150,000 keys per second. Nowhere near 4 billion, what we were talking about earlier. So not sure what's wrong with the site today. It did work the other day. The site claims they'll take 30% if you find a balance. I don't know. It's up to you. But you can do this yourself. You can build a brute force machine, and you can know for sure that these are part of this puzzle that this person made, where basically they took a total of, I don't remember what the total was, 32? I think they took a total of 32 Bitcoins, split them over 160 addresses, put a certain amount in each, depending on its complexity. And again, all the early ones, you'll see all these ones with the blue, those have been cracked. Private key crack. And so 64, 66, 67, 68 still need to be cracked. 71 here. That one's been cracked. So again, maybe you want to get rich. If you want to go for the big one is 2 to the 160, meaning that the private key is that long. That's how impossible it's going to be for you to get into it. But it does have 1.6 in there, which is probably $50,000. Maybe you want to do that. So the other thing I was going to say, the last thing, and then we'll be done with this, is so the other thing that's cool about this site, allprivatekeys.com, is they've got this passphrase. So one thing you never want to do is you never want to use a brain wallet. This is something, a lot of people learn the hard way. So in 2013, 2014, when I was looking into this, when I was writing for websites, I told people, check out brain wallets. Brain wallets are cool because you can create whatever password you want, and it will lead to a private key. The problem is human brains are terrible at creating things that computers can't come up with. As I showed somebody the other day, you can put anything in here. So imagine a passphrase. So if I put, Henry with a capital letter, bottomless, this is his name, Henry Bottomless Joe, okay? And his birth date is January 15th, 1991, and he was 14 pounds, 5 ounces, okay? So that's something you can remember in your head. If you had to fly away to, I don't know, Mozambique, running away from the police or something, as long as you had this password in your head, you would be able to get access to your private key and your money. But even this would not be safe, right? You would want to start really messing with this. You'd want to put a capital N there. And this is where the human mind comes into problems, because will they remember this as they travel the world? Maybe I change the 2 T's to 1 T. Maybe I change the 2 S's to 2 5s. Maybe for Joe, small j, instead of a O, I'm going to put a 0. And let's make a capital E. And then for his birthday, 0, 1, let's add a 1 to each number so nobody can guess that. So instead of that, it's a 1, a 2, a 2, a 6, a 2. The 2 9s, let's make 10s. 10, 10, 2, 2, 5, and 6. Okay, so here's the thing. Even this I would never consider safe anymore, because somebody could be at this site trying to hack by just putting in random numbers like I just did. For instance, if this is anybody's passphrase right now, I've just stolen their Bitcoin. When I hit generate address, I'm going to get a private key, and I'm going to get a address out of it. You can see them here, and there's the private key. Okay. Now this thing's generating right now. It's checking all the blockchain to see if there's any money in there. Oops, close this. It'll add. So if I don't want to wait for that, I can grab this address, give it to me. Thank you. And we can go check ourselves. We can go to the blockchain. We can plug it in here. We can press enter. And we can see that address has 0. Now, don't do this because you just punched into a website, right? Don't do that. But at this point, really, if I wanted this to be my address, I don't know if I could trust this site. I don't know who runs it. It's probably not very safe. You can do this offline. But this one here, once you have this address, right? Well, now I can have address. I have the private key. So I could add this to my wallet right now. Boom. I add this to my wallet. I have all the addresses for it. And I could have people send me money, whatever. And I now know my wallet passphrase. So if I ever run away and go to Mozambique and get to a computer, I could plug that back in and get all this stuff out. I would have the private key and I'd be able to spend the money there. Again, don't do this. Don't do it. The randomness of wallets, the randomness generators are much better than even your random brain. Okay. Even though you might think it's random, it's not. Okay. So what people will do is they'll come here and type in easy passwords. Like, let me show you this one. So if I went password 123. Now, nobody would have been so dumb as to make that their Bitcoin password, right? Well, the answer is yes, they were. And if you go look here, you'll see that they have, does this take you to the, no, it doesn't. I have to copy it. So if you grab this, somebody at one point was, come on, give me this. There we go. Somebody at one point thought that was a good enough password for their brain wallet. So if you go here, you're going to see that that person quickly had their Bitcoin stolen. That's why I say don't use a brain wallet. So you can see that somebody had money in there and then it got taken out in 2015. Now, again, this is the craziness about Bitcoin. You're going to be, I know you're a little bit confused as to what I'm talking about here, that no matter what you type in here, it is equal to some address and some private key here. Here. What do you mean, Jaron? That there's not enough possibilities in your brain, in any computer's brain, in all the computers' brains, to come up with something so crazy here that it doesn't equal a Bitcoin address and private key that already exists. Meaning any password that you come up with already has. Anything you can imagine in your mind now, your social security number plus your own home phone number plus the street you lived on plus the street you second lived on plus your girlfriend's name plus her dad's name plus her dog's name minus her breast size, whatever it is, that number is already a Bitcoin private key and an address. And you can put that in. You can go there and say whatever you want. I love chicken wings plus watermelon on July 4th and fireworks. And you can even add different things in here, and you can change the I to a a little I, or whatever you want. You can, love, maybe I don't need that. I'll put that there. And then after it, 5555642212122 TT. All right. What is it? Who came up with that? I just came up with that in my head. Generate address, and you're going to have it. So this is what, now again, this one's showing you there's no balance, there's no transactions. But again, this could become, right now, my address. I would own all these addresses, the BTC address, the Bitcoin Cash address, the Bitcoin Gold address, the Bitcoin SV address, and I now have the private key I can add to my wallet, and I've got a new passphrase. Now, here's my warning and why I said don't do this, is because you don't know who owns this site, okay? Somebody could be sitting at the other end capturing everything I type in here, right? And if I type something in like this, they have it in some sort of database that they're keeping, and maybe next week they check it, because what they're checking is to see if I've ever put any money in this, and then they'll steal it. That's not the point of what I'm showing you. The point is, so don't do that. Do not make a brain wallet. Don't do it. It's not safe. If you want to make a brain wallet, figure out how to flip a coin 160 times, figure out how to write down ones and zeros for bits, and come up with that kind of random password, not you're typing into a machine that somebody can be watching. Totally different. So again, now you can type easy passwords. I don't know. Name some password that people might have. I don't know. Zebra bottom. I don't know. Zebra bottom. Now that might have been somebody's password in the past. Who knows? And again, this thing will tell you if anybody's ever had that password, or if they did it for a brain wallet. Now again, anything you type in does equal somebody's private key and address. This is why you don't want to do. Now I think, if I remember right, I think you can even have something like 10. Actually, the number 10, equates to somebody's address. But again, this is insane. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said no two computers will randomly ever select the same private key. This is kind of proof of that. What I'm saying is the only way you can come up with the same thing is to type the same thing in. So if I typed in again, the I love chicken and watermelons on 4th of July or whatever, you're going to get the same key. That's how it works. It only matches one. So again, you can come here, maybe you'll find something, but again, it's one of those things that you probably won't, because many of these have been already cracked. If you go here, I believe there's hacked brain wallets, brain wallet cracker. What's this one? Brain wallet cracker. Why is it saying new? I don't think I've ever seen a brain wallet cracker. Hold on, I don't even know what this is. Brain wallet cracker, 4 to 8, 10 words long, which is called a passphrase. This is totally new. I have no idea what this is. This passphrase, depending upon the generator dictionary you're using. Oh, so this uses some sort of dictionary. I see dictionary Linux, so you can use Electrum English, which is 2004. Oh, this actually goes through the seed words? No way. Hold on. Wait, number of words used. No, number of words would be way more than that. Let's say 10. Generate an Electrum 2048 10 words. So it's going to randomly generate 10. Wow. I mean, every one of these, when you stumble on something like this, these things just teach me, wow, I can't even believe how secure Bitcoin is. This site is generating a random 10 Electrum keys out of the 248 possible seed words. It's randomly generating 10, which you can see here. Myself, slice, figure, consider, fresh coin. This is a 10-word phrase and they're all empty. I mean, it's just crazy. You'll really start to realize the insanity of big numbers. And that's basically it. So, the reason I'm doing this is not for you to steal money. The reason is because, this is an interesting thing. I don't know who would ever do this because I don't have the hacking equipment, but there is ways that you can buy. I wouldn't do any of this. Supposedly, like this account here has 10,000 Bitcoins in it. Somebody's selling it for 0.84 Bitcoin, which is what, about $20,000, $25,000. And it's worth $325 million. The problem is they don't know the password. So again, we have the address. We can click that, but we don't know the private key. So this is a wallet that has 10,000 Bitcoins in it right now. And this is actually the blockchain. So this is the truth. You can grab this code here. We can go to the actual blockchain site, put it in, drop it there. And I'm not sure who's selling these. I mean, that's why I said don't do this either. But, there's 10,000 Bitcoins in this. Supposedly the person selling it does not have the, people are just, it's another thing, man, I'm noticing. People are spamming. See this? Like, let's use full power of anonymity, see memo.sv topic people are starting to, they're finding these wallets that people, and then they're spamming stuff in here because they're just sending tiny little bits. See, 0, they're sending a bunch of nothing. How much is this worth? Nothing. It's going to be 10 cents or something probably. See how much they're sending. So people are just, 17 cents. They keep sending 17 cents over and over and over and over and over again to this wallet just to put their little code in there. So if anybody wants to go there, I don't know. Let's use full power of anonymity. Well, that's https memo.sv topic. I don't have time to do this right. I've seen it a few times. Let's use it. It's http. You can type that in if you want. HTTPS, which is full power of anonymity. And then memo, is that a website? Memo.sv. And then there's some sort of topic there. I don't know. It's spam. Don't do it. Somebody's trying to get us to go to that website, and I don't want to go there. So we're not going to do that. Anyway, we're going to close this one. We're going to go back here. So yeah, people are even, because they lost their, so you basically get the wallet file. If anybody knows how Bitcoin works on your computer right now, you probably have a file, something.wallet, if you have a Bitcoin wallet. And usually, if it's on your computer, you would have protected it with a password, right? And if you did protect it with a password and you ever lost it, well, you would have a file on your computer that you can't get into that has Bitcoin. Supposedly that's what this is. So this person here has a wallet with 10,000 Bitcoins in it that they're selling for $20,000 for $27,000 because they can't get in it. And so you would get the wallet.dat file and good luck. If you have so this, what I'm pointing out here is even somebody who has a hashing computer, don't you think they would go after what did we say it was worth? 3-something million? I forgot what the total was. Didn't it show it somewhere? Back here. Yeah, there we go. 325 million. So if Bitcoin was hackable, like people will call my show and tell me, oh, it's hackable, they can hack it, the NSA knows how, well then guess what? Here's a wallet.dat file you'd be able to put in your computer, and you would just be able to throw a bunch of shit at it running 4 billion hashes a second or whatever your master GPU could do. And if you break it, you would get 325 million. But it hasn't been done. There's a reason for it. It's impossible. Okay? So don't buy it. Now, some of these come with like little clues, like I know for a fact I didn't use any numbers or, in my password. Again, can you even trust that? I wouldn't do it. So this is the site keys.lol. Again, do the same thing. Go through here, grab one of these crazy numbers, and you'll start to learn how secure Bitcoin is. And then when you realize that, you'll start to see what is so impressive about it, that this is an amazing system. That you and I can send money back and forth. You can send it to your family in the Philippines. I can send it to my family in Germany, whatever. And there's no middleman needed. There's no bank needed at all. And I've been shut down from PayPal and Amazon and different sites, and many people have been told they can't bank. And remember, if somebody got on to you and they said, shut this person's account down at Bank of America or shut this person's account off at Wells Fargo, they have the absolute ability to do that, right? What they can't do is touch your Bitcoin. Okay? Doesn't matter. Like I just showed you, you can travel to another country and put your seeds words in and get all your money out, and nobody knows that it's yours. It's completely throws everything out the window and completely pisses in the face of the Fed, which I'm a big fan of. Not a big fan of the Fed, not at all. And the Fed as quick as possible. They are what have enslaved the world. And showing you all this is merely meant so that you start to grasp, because I get too many people who don't think it's safe or that it's hackable. Well, we can hack anything on the computer, so there must be ways of hacking this, and only by coming here and playing around with this will you ever be able to see that it's not hackable, and it won't be hackable. And even if computers get faster and faster and faster, and then we got quantum computers, which, believe that if you want, quantum computers that can do all these, even if they get to that point, you have to realize they can just add, instead of 2 to the 256, let's make it 2 to the 875. Let's make it 2 to the 1,400. And all you're doing there is making more and more impossibilities. And when you're talking big numbers, the number's already big enough that you'll never find it, and neither will another computer. So keep trying, and you'll realize how secure your Bitcoin is when you own one of these addresses with a private key and you're putting Bitcoin there. And again, if you don't like the idea of people being able to do this, then there's there's coins like Monero, right, where there is no address that you'll be able to click on and see how much somebody owns. And so there can never be a system like this. And that's kind of why Monero and some of these old coins came along. They looked at Bitcoin, saw what it did well, and said, we'll change this. Let's make it so that they can't look at the blockchain. And actually, we can still use a blockchain to verify transactions and to verify amounts, but it won't be a publicly accessible blockchain. And again, if you don't understand the blockchain, you will soon. In the next 5 or 10 years, everything that you do ownership-wise will probably be on the blockchain. Any kind of property ownership, any kind of insurance, any kind of car, everything will be on the blockchain because it's unchangeable and sits forever. And it doesn't even take that much memory because it's text files. Again, it doesn't take this much memory, and the blockchain sits on the computer of millions and millions of people across the world. So there's nobody who can come along and say, squash these computers. All right, well, all those are still running it. All right, squash those. All right, all those billions of computers. All right, you can never do it. You're just not going to be able to do it. It's going to be here whether you like it or not. If the government comes out and says tomorrow, Bitcoin is now illegal, guess what? All these addresses still exist. All these private keys still exist. I can send money to any one of these addresses I want. Somebody at one of these addresses can send it to me. And what are we doing? We're just committing something illegal. It's data. It's files. So we're going to let the government now tell us we're not allowed to transfer files? Think about it. It's insanity. All right, so that's pretty much it. I went too long. Hopefully you got the gist of it. Let me check and see if there's anything pertinent, or else I'm going to drop it. Let's see. Let me bring this back up. And hopefully that made sense to you and didn't get you lost, which it may have. Maybe there's 10 people listening, which wouldn't surprise me at this point. I'm going to close this off, and that will help my stream run a little bit smoother. Alrighty, and we're going to go here real quick and just see. I want to thank anybody. Let's see here if there's, that's good, that's done. Okay, got that. And 194, not bad. Thank you. Somebody sent $5. I don't have, it says no super chats on my screen, but yet it says $5 there. Don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, thank you to whoever sent the $5. Sorry, I'm not able to see. Will XRP make me rich? No. I hear Cake Wallet is the best. Pretty good one. For your phone. Don't hold too much on there. Witsit told me to buy some. No, it's up to you. I don't know if that's the best one. It's 7.4 AMA. Whales missed so much. Will you rewind? I've bought some XRP, so it should be interesting. All right. What about Cash App? Cash App's great for buying Bitcoin, I think. Absolutely. Go on there, put some money on the Cash App, hit buy Bitcoin. They sell it to you at one of the best exchange rates that I've seen, and then you can send it to yourself and store it. Absolutely. See if there's anything else here. My password is always, thank you, don't give your password away. Try whatever Biden tried to say. That's some random shit. Yeah, there's a coin. There's a address there with Biden's words. You can find it. Yeah, go put in the, Pony Boy Soldier or whatever the hell he's talking about. Let's see if there's anything else. Take the money and run. You're not going to find any. I don't trust the internet. Well, all your money is in a bank. What are you going to do if the internet goes down? Do you think you could just show up and be like, I had $1,400 in here? They're going to laugh at you. Be like, well, the internet's down. Well, give me my $1,400, and then they're going to tell you, oh, we only can give you 10% of what you had. That's the way banks work. See here, because I did with 10 BTC. Don't talk to me about people who had Bitcoin in the past. That's definitely me. It's very funny. Flat Earth Church says, learning all this knowledge is like a NASA fanboy trying to explain gravity. It's a bunch of gobbledygook trying to justify something fake. It's hilarious. It's funny because these people use money. They use cash. They don't realize that cash is a debt-based system that has nothing but inflation behind it, and it's enslaved the whole world. And so somebody who's telling you about something that if everyone started using tomorrow would change the world, would end the government as we know it, would do all those things. People are too scared and they say it's something fake. What do you think the money in your pocket is? Funny. Be funny if you stumbled upon an address with millions. That's somebody told me yesterday too. You're not going to do it, so I didn't have that fear. Do not buy Dogecoin. Jaron, I found a green one with 10 Bitcoin only on it. Only took 1 to 2 minutes. Was I tempted? Sure. Did I swipe? No luck. Does it play a part sometimes? Well, I don't believe that. So, it only took me 1 minute to find one with 10 Bitcoin. Did I steal it? No, but I could have. So I don't believe that at all. See, somebody says something like that, you can just laugh at them. There's no possibility. No possibility at all. There's nothing wrong with having money. You can help others who do not understand how to help themselves. We are not exactly educated properly. Do I have to say that here? Yeah, we're not. So again, a lot of people have, issues with the idea of Bitcoin. A lot of people say, oh, Bitcoin or money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Sure. Again, this is what rich people would tell you if they want to stay rich and you to stay poor, right? So the meek will inherit the earth. Weed is a good currency around here. Yes, but it's not very secure. Not very secure at all. Somebody could come into the house. And yes, no, that guy did not find 10 Bitcoin, believe me. Okay. Didn't happen, and you'll just have to take my word for it. All right, thank you, everybody at YouTube. I'm going to end the stream there. Appreciate it. Might stay up. It's almost midnight. I wonder if my strikes have fallen off. I didn't say anything to give me a strike in here, right? No, I'm good. we should be fine. All right. Thank you, everybody at YouTube. Again, patreon.com/jeranism. Support the channel if you like. If not, I get it. It's tough times. Hit the notification bell, subscribe, all that stuff, and videos should start coming soon and being able to stay up until I get more strikes, at which point, who knows? Who knows? But it would be a big help. The more patrons, the better. It helps me keep doing this. Appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, peace. All right, we're going to end the YouTube stream, and hello, everybody.